EASA invited 12 general aviation pilots to participate in our VFR into IMC project here in Cologne. IMC, meaning Instrument Meteorological Conditions, is one of the leading causes of fatal accidents in general aviation. These pilots were invited to receive training and to fly a simulator, to experience a flight into clouds and how to survive that deadly trap. The pilots, all from different countries in Europe, had their own stories to tell.
This is Delta India Mike, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I am
Today, we hear Victoria's story.
VFR rated only. I would appreciate some assistance.
We flew over Bembridge, which is a very obvious, very clear for me, certainly hard runway airfield, so able to look out the window and say, yeah, lovely, there's Bembridge. And it felt like just seconds later, and suddenly we're in the cloud. And I can feel the fear now of being blind, absolutely blind. And I can remember grabbing very tightly to the throttle. I had a hand on the throttle and a hand on the stick, and I remember holding it so my knuckles went white and saying, we're in a really bad situation. I can't fly in cloud. This is all happening, as you can imagine, really quickly, very quickly. Yeah. And I think I went from being in the cloud to saying to him, we're in a really bad place, and feeling my adrenaline suddenly start going. And then I was back into the cockpit, but remembering the training I'd had and thinking, there's only one way out of this, and it's not looking out the window and hoping for the best. This is instruments. This is...
Which was your main instrument? That you
were I was looking at my attitude indicator, making sure I was straight and level, my wings were steady. I was then darting across and trying to remember what I was supposed to look at. And then it was a case of trying to make a decision about where to go, what to do. I wasn't confident to just stay in the cloud. I didn't want to be in the cloud, obviously. I was aware of, there's a fair amount of airspace still around there, controlled airspace. And I made a decision not to speak to air traffic control. I thought, I'll do what I need to do. I'll worry about air traffic control later, and I can explain to them what's happened.
That leads nicely, isn't it? Aviate, navigate, communicate.
And that went through my head very quickly and similarly with having discussions with a husband who was very good at just sitting quietly. And in my head I had two choices. I could either come back to Bembridge and land, because I knew it was just behind us. We'd just come over it, lovely big airfield for me with what I was used to, so lovely big.
Very tempting.
Very tempting. But to me that was heading towards the ground, and the one thing I didn't want to do was be on the ground, uncontrolled, headed towards the ground. My next alternative was, I remembered what the cloud had looked like, and I knew there was blue sky above the cloud, and my next thought was, we'll climb. So I said this to my husband and said to him, you watch the sat-nav, because that will give us an indication. You tell me if you think we're doing something that we're not, and I will obviously watch my instruments. I just wanted to get out of the cloud. And we were up and out in probably seconds. But that feeling of coming out of the cloud. And I can feel it now. It makes my hair stand on end and my stomach churn. I think probably, and I maybe didn't verbalise it at the time, but I think in my head I probably processed the fact that if the cloud had appeared that quickly, it was just as likely to still be over, would have come in across onto the airfield as well. I was confident that I had blue sky above me. I wasn't confident I didn't have cloud behind me or to the sides of me. I then took a second just to get comfortable and calm and see where I was and make sure I wasn't about to get involved in any other aircraft or anything else, make sure I knew where I was. And then the next thing was to speak to air traffic and to tell them. And air traffic were very good and very calm. I hadn't busted any airspace, which was good. And they just were that was all very calm as well, and I was comfortable again then and made my way back. But it was a real coming out of the cloud. It was almost, and it probably sounds really dramatic, I felt as though my life and my husband's life was in the balance. I had our lives in my hands. Be prepared. I was quite prepared, but had I done my threat and error management of saying, if I hit cloud, this is what I'll do, if we see cloud, this is what we'll do. Had I verbalised that? No, I hadn't. I went immediately to my attitude indicator, straight in on instruments.
Okay.
And
Prioritise flying the aeroplane.
absolutely.
Excellent.
Which is, and that aviate, navigate, communicate, yeah, that went through my head.
So-
Realising that panic isn't going to save the situation, realising that just sitting there and giving up isn't going to save the situation. You've got it in your hands to try to at least recover it, and to trust that you've got instruments, and absolutely trust your instruments. Don't bother looking out the window and thinking we're going somewhere. And actually for me, grabbing the controls wasn't good. That should have been actually relax on the controls. But give yourself just a second to think what you're going to do and be sensible about what you're going to do. I think that we were almost double jeopardy. We were in cloud, and then I nearly made a decision to go somewhere else, which I think would have been the end of us. Making the decision to come out of the cloud was the right one, but still decisions had to be made, and there was time. There was time to make some decisions, but panicking wasn't going to save us.
Perfect.
Can I let go now? Oh, Lord.
Wow.